Hey there, welcome back to Neo Sree Stories. In the previous videos, I shared 3 chapters of my life story. Please check them out if you haven't seen them already. In this video, I will be diving into the next chapter, which includes my bipolar mania episode, a deep depressive episode, a divorce, and an identity crisis. It's going to be an intense journey. So, let's get started. As I mentioned in the previous video, when a series of stressful situations built up in my life around the same time, it led to a mental breakdown, which was later identified as a bipolar mania episode. It happened in early 2019. During the mania episode, my mind began deviating from its normal state and I was delusional most of the time. Occasionally, I also experienced episodes of psychosis and schizophrenia. I started feeling like I was having some special revelations and enlightenment. I even felt like I was the next prophet destined to save the world and establish a universal religion that embraced all existing beliefs. I interacted with people as if I were this special person, and some even seemed to have believed and called me Baba. At times, I felt like I was a manifestation of God and even held conversations with similar beings on distant planets. I also had a strong feeling that I was being closely monitored by the government authorities, their armed forces, as well as Google, Facebook, and their artificial intelligence. I felt that they would try to restrict me from pursuing my goals, so I kept moving from place to place. These experiences felt incredibly real to me, although they were only hallucinations. I share this to help you understand what may be happening with individuals who make similar claims. While I feel sympathy for them, I feel disappointed in those who support their delusions instead of encouraging them to seek medical treatment. This could be the origin of many self-proclaimed godmen or godwomen, which is very common in countries like India. During the mania episode, I was highly energetic and euphoric. I thought I can do anything in the world. I had an unrealistic level of confidence. I became highly extroverted, unlike my usual self. I met a girl at some event and suddenly developed strong romantic feelings for her while believing that she was a divine incarnation like me. But at the same time, I was sharing all this with my ex-partner and I often spoke resentfully to her. I can't even imagine the pain she had to endure during those times. While we both know that my actions were influenced by my troubled neurological condition, I am still truly sorry for everything. She has been incredibly supportive and played a crucial role in my recovery. And the girl I fell in love with during the mania episode also understood the details of my condition eventually and became a supportive friend. During the mania episode, everything I read or saw were being connected to the special fantasy story I was constructing in my mind that I mentioned earlier. And at that time, I was reading a book called For Humans to Know by Maitreyan, a well-known person from my home state, Kerala. But instead of comprehending the book, I started fantasizing about it as a new book of revelations. I asked everyone I know to read it, claiming that they would get the same special enlightenment as me. I even called the author Maitreyan and told him a bunch of nonsense. Luckily, he was experienced enough to understand that I am having a mental problem. He eventually became one of the most helpful individuals in my recovery. While my mania episode continued for several weeks, my family members and my ex-partner struggled to find a solution. Eventually, they successfully staged a situation to bring me back to Kerala. Once there, they tried to convince me with the help of a doctor that I am having a mental trouble which can only be fixed with medication. I was skeptical, fearing that they would take away my newfound abilities. However, for the sake of my loved ones, I agreed to undergo some tests. The results, along with the guidance of doctors and professionals, partially convinced me that I was experiencing bipolar mania. But it was Maitreyan who convinced me the most. as he was the only person I trusted that time. It was his carefully chosen words that influenced me to understand that I was facing a neurological disorder and pursuing treatment was the best option for me. I am forever grateful for the time and care he provided during the most challenging time of my life. My colleagues and the management team at Experio were incredibly supportive throughout my recovery process. They gave me plenty of time off to rest and recover and took care of my projects and responsibilities while I was undergoing treatment. When I returned to the office in Singapore, they made flexible arrangements for me to ease back into the job. I also had a new colleague who shared the increased workload in my role, and she has since been tremendously helpful as the company grew. We formed a strong bond and became good friends in the process. As I was gradually recovering from the mania episode with the help of medications, I inevitably entered a state of deep depression. I experienced intense anxiety about various aspects of life. However, with the help of numerous individuals to whom I am forever grateful, I managed to regain a sense of normalcy over time. During this time, me and my ex-partner went through multiple counseling sessions with some specialists and came to the realization that it was best for both of us to part ways. Looking back, it turned out to be a great decision for both of us. Luckily, we did not have any children, which made the divorce process easier. We finalized it by the end of 2019. One thing I remember from that experience is the unfriendly nature of the divorce system in India, even when both parties are filing for divorce mutually. From lawyers trying to extract excessive fees from both sides to mandatory counselors from the court who can be frustrating and time-consuming, to judges displaying their arrogance during the process, it was a horrible experience overall. This system needs to change. There are already enough social stigmas and struggles around divorce in countries like India. And even after all that, when two people have mutually decided to give up their marriage, the least that can be done is to grant it to them without further hassles. The series of events, including bipolar mania and the divorce, triggered a deep identity crisis within me. The traditional nature of our marriage created an expectation that it would last a lifetime. So, after the divorce, I was required to delete all our couple photos from all social media platforms where we shared them happily with the assumption of eternal togetherness. This is the problem when you enter into unrealistic social agreements like a traditional marriage. It is better to establish more flexible arrangements for long-term commitments, acknowledging that even the best relationships may come to an end. Another lesson I learned is that if you prioritize building a strong couple's identity over your personal identity, you are likely to face an identity crisis if the relationship ends. Coupledom is not guaranteed to last a lifetime, despite it being a common desire for most people. It's also better not to base your identity solely on your job, relationships, possessions, financial status, social status, and so on. Instead, it is better to focus on building a strong personal identity rooted on your values, interests, and growth. This can help reduce the chances of an identity crisis in life. I hope that you have learned something valuable from this chapter of my life. Feel free to share your comments on the topics I discussed here. And stay tuned for the next video where I will share how I overcame the identity crisis and embarked on a transformative journey that shaped the person you see right here, right now.